Today I'll be teaching you how to personalize your Nintendo Switch Pro controller by changing the faceplate, the buttons, and adding some really cute thumb grips to make it more personalized to your unique style. I chose pink because I am obsessed with pink, but you can choose whatever color you want. Now, I purchased my shell and buttons off of Amazon, and it came with a screwdriver to make the process much easier. However, if you're buying from a different seller, make sure that you have screwdrivers and possibly even new screws to put it back together. On the bottom, you're going to have two screws that you need to unscrew, and once you've pulled out the screws, the hand grip should pull right off. Now, you want to make sure that you have a plate or a bowl to keep the old screws in, just to prevent them from getting lost. The next step is to unscrew these 4 screws from your Switch controller. They're pretty easy to see because they're gray, unlike the black ones, but they're a little bit more difficult to screw out, especially with long nails. Now you'll notice that some parts I'm sort of dumping the nail out instead of pulling it out. I think at this part I would have preferred to have tweezers, but I hadn't come up with the idea to use tweezers yet. So definitely use tweezers if you're struggling like I was. Remove the 4 screws, you'll need to gently pry off this top layer. With longer nails, it seems like it's easier. It could be harder, I'm not sure, but I was just trying to make sure I wasn't breaking the plastic. But it should just kind of gently pop off in one piece and expose the battery, which you will remove and put to the side. Next, you'll want to unscrew these 5 screws. Once you removed all the screws, you want to super gently remove this portion, as this is where the ribbon is attached, and if you pull it out too hard, you're going to possibly break the ribbon. So just very, very gently pry it. With my long nails, I feel like I was struggling a little bit more. I would have loved to have the tweezers in this instant as well to get the initial push to help separate the two. After gently opening, you'll expose the ribbon, where you're going to want to take your tweezers and just open the little clasp very gently, and this will release the ribbon instantly without any damage. So you don't even need to close it like I was. You can just kind of pop it out and it just boop, pops right out of place. During this next portion, you want to be a little bit more careful to not put your fingers on any parts that look important, like metal parts. So just be cautious of your hands, if your hands are like sweaty, anything, and just remove these screws that were shown above. And this is what's needed to add the buttons. You'll save yourself a lot of time if you already sort of have the buttons pre-put into the model before deconstructing the other one, but you do need these little rubber pieces behind the buttons so that your buttons have the pressure to go. Now you want to make sure to take your time that each button and plastic piece has been put into place properly so that you won't have to take it apart again like I had to. When you're handling the L and R buttons, they kind of just pop off really easily and just pop right in. But with the ZL and the ZR, we need to be a little bit more careful. There is a metal rod that you need to pull out. I use tweezers because they have super long nails. And it just pulls right out, and with that, it sort of releases that button for you. And then you'll just put the new one on and just slide it back in. As you can see, I'm really struggling to pull out this little pole. And what I did after putting these back in, I made sure to press on them to make sure they felt like they clicked properly and that I didn't mess anything up. So once you've put the ZR and ZL buttons on, just sort of press this panel in and make sure it's nice and secure, and we're going to start to put it back together again. Now it's important to make sure you do this secure, but also make sure you're putting it in properly, because the first time I did this, it wasn't on completely, so it just wasn't fitting right. I couldn't figure out why the screws were not screwing back in properly. Now here's the part that's a little bit tricky. You want to put the analog sticks back in, but you need to connect the ribbon again. This is hard to put on footage, but basically what you want to do is feed that blue ribbon back into the slot and then close the clamp on it without touching it and without damaging it. And this sounds much more complicated than it is. It was just really hard to try to get the correct angle to film. But you'll get the gist, even though it goes completely out of focus because it blurs into my freaking hand, which sucks. Now once you have the ribbon together and you can put the switch back together, I would recommend testing it out first via the settings, make sure the analogs and all the buttons are working properly, and then finish putting your controller back together by screwing in the screws that you unscrewed. Finally, we're going to add some thumb grips, and what I realized is these thumb grips are really hard to put on properly. So by sort of stretching it around and working your way around slowly but surely, you'll be able to get it on properly. If it's not on properly, like the white one in this video, they pop off and it's just a super frustrating experience. But if you put it on properly like the pink one, then you don't have to have this problem. And there you go, that's how I changed my shell and my buttons and thumb grips. The only thing I'm missing right now is a pink skin to go on top of the charging portion, and I will be ready to go. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching. Thanks so much for following Pop Top Mop Chop. Boom! You thought I was gonna mess it up, but I didn't.